All right, a lot of takes circulating about what's going to happen with the Bengals going forward, and there's a justifiable pessimistic view, right? And that's what is warranted with what Joe Burrow's been saying, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Now Trey Hendrickson for the second straight year has asked to be traded, and we have obliged. We said, all right, we'll see. Go test out the waters. Go talk to other teams and see what the market is. And you get on X.com last night, and like I said, there's takes circulating. The most prolific take is that this is all crumbling down. Trey Hendrickson won't be here next year. And while that seems likely, it's no secret that I am the optimistic Bengals fan. And for some reason, until I get the push notification that Trey Hendrickson has been traded away, I am under the opinion that Trey Hendrickson will play for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2025. Here's my reason why. I think Trey Hendrickson saw the Max Crosby news. I don't think it's an anomaly on why. I don't think it's coincidence on that the Max Crosby news comes out. The next day, Trey Hendrickson asked for a trade because they were likely in contract disputes. They were likely in extension talks, and the Max Crosby news breaks, and they go, all right, that's what I want. I led the league in sacks. And you know what? If you're Trey Hendrickson, you have absolutely every right to think that way. You are pretty much alone on an island here with the Cincinnati Bengals. Everyone doubted you when you came to the Bengals, said you were a Cam Jordan merchant, and that take's been put to rest. And teams can focus on you because you're the only serious pass rusher on this team. And that being said, you still lead the league in sacks. I saw a stat that he had over 40% of the Bengals' pressures last year. And you looked at the list of other defensive ends that have done that, other defensive linemen that have done that, and it's a short list of Hall of Famers. So when Trey Hendrickson thinks that he's going to get $30 million out on the open market, he has every right to go out and seek that. The problem is I don't know if he's going to get that. And that's where I think that Trey Hendrickson will be a Bengal. And I know that's the optimistic view here in 2025. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if it's the best thing for the Bengals. Because what does playing one more year for the Bengals get them? Unless they obviously win something big, they go on a big run. It doesn't. You got an opportunity to get something out of an asset. Here's another reason why I think that Trey Hendrickson will be a Bengal next year. I think Trey Hendrickson's going to go out and talk to these teams. Maybe he finds a suitor that will pay him what he thinks he's worth. And that team, knowing that they're paying a premium for an edge rusher, aren't going to want to pony up. They're not going to want to pay Trey Hendrickson $30 million and then give a first or a second. So if we think that the Blackburns and the Browns call all the shots here in Cincinnati, imagine this. Just imagine this. Trey Hendrickson finds a suitor. We'll call it a random team, Las Vegas Raiders. I know that's just a random team. They're willing to give Trey Hendrickson $30 million. But in that, they say, all right, we'll do it. We'll give you your extension, and we will give you a third and a fourth for Trey. When that trade comes back to the Bengals front office, and they go, all right, he's found a suitor. It's a third and a fourth for him. I just don't see Mike Brown and that family saying yes to that. Yeah. I just think that they'll look at that and say that's well below what we want to get for him. There's a reason that this team never makes trades. Similar to why there's never trades in your fantasy football league, because everyone thinks they have something more than they've got. And I just think that when it all comes to its head, they'll sit on their hands. And what did we say with what did Jay Morrison, James Rapine, everyone that came on this show last year or came on this show to begin this season? Mike Brown doesn't blink. And maybe I'm way off base. I've been wrong before more times than I've been right in my life, as my wife will tell you. I just don't know. I just got this weird feeling that Trey Hendrickson is going to play for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's going to be in stripes in 2025. Will he miss some games? Will he hold out? Will he pull a Chris Jones like he did for the Kansas City Chiefs a few years ago? Probably. But come week 8, week 9, week 10, when those game checks aren't coming to the Hendrickson household, he's going to want to play. your opinion on what's going to happen with this Trey Hendrickson news. Jacob Tissett, host of Chatterbox Bengals.
That's right, and shout out to Casey for hopping on with me yesterday to talk about this right after it happened. But yeah, I think obviously Trey Hendrickson, phenomenal Bengal. Maybe the best free agency signing in the history of the organization. Back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons. He's incredible. The defense would be better with him on it. The defense would not be better with him on it at $32 million. Every other edge rusher that's going to get this Max Crosby level deal this offseason, Max Crosby, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett if he gets moved, these guys are all top shelf run defenders. Trey Hendrickson's not that. Trey Hendrickson's one of the best QB pass rushers in the entire NFL, and I'm not taking that away from him. And he's going to be a crucial piece to whatever team he's on next year. I hope that's the Bengals. But that part of that $30+ million to an edge rusher means you're an every down player, making impacts across the line of scrimmage on pass and run plays. Trey Hendrickson just doesn't provide that. The number I was always comfortable with was topping out at around $28 million, $29 million. I think getting over the $30 million threshold for Trey Hendrickson, especially with the guarantees that Crosby deal put in as the parameters for a top edge rusher, I don't think that's the right move for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the thing we always talk about with all of these moves are what's most important is the plan to replace a great player. If you let Trey Hendrickson walk and do nothing to replace him, it's terrible. If you keep Trey Hendrickson for a year on the end of this contract and do nothing to replace him after he walks for free, that's terrible. If you extend Trey Hendrickson and put nothing around him, the defense is still terrible. So it doesn't matter what you do with Trey Hendrickson. It matters how you address the problem around it. And obviously, if you lose Trey, you're losing your best player. You're losing your only edge rusher. But there's so many other problems on this defense. If the Bengals reinvest that money and multiple players across the defense, I think this can be an overall positive once you incorporate the draft compensation as well.
Yeah, I was thinking about it last night, and I'm not mad at the idea of trading Trey Hendrickson. I didn't think it was a crazy thing to do, because I like Jacob just said, I don't. When I look at the offense and I look at the defense and I say, do I want to take away something good from something that's already terrible, or do I want to take something good away from something that's really, really good and make that lesser than what it is while still being terrible on the other side? I'd rather take away from the lesser and just make it as bad as it can be. I know that sounds terrible, but that's the truth. I think you have a better chance scoring 40 and fighting down the stretch as long as you don't turn the ball over than improving. I don't know how many defensive players we'd add if we re-sign Trey, right? Now, and again, in a perfect world, if this organization was any bit of competent, they would have gotten all these deals done. They still would have gone out and got talent, and then they would have drafted well.
Correct.
That's what the bottom line here is. Now, I don't think that I don't think that Trey would have. I don't think Trey would have made the difference next year to help the Bengals be successful. I think he's very, very good. He's elite, but when you talk about paying edge rushers and talk about playing defensive guys that are over the age of 30, I don't know if Trey's on the list. I would put him in. Jay Morrison tweeted out yesterday. It's betting that the Bengals are betting that Trey will not play at a level equal to the kind of money that he wants. Yeah. In 2018, the Bengals gave Geno Atkins at age 30. They got 14 and a half more sacks for $65 million after he got to age 30. So, I'm okay with the Bengals moving on. My issue, though, is that all of this could have been done had they been just a little bit proactive.
Yes.
The Bengals are a reactionary franchise. They're not a proactive franchise. That's why what you're seeing right now, all of this unfolding, it all could have been solved. They could have done all this. T could have been brought back already. Jamar's deal could have been done last offseason. Right? And you look at Trey Hendrickson, and it could have been done earlier. Now, I will say, I think Trey Hendrickson, and this is the part of sports, this is old man Elliott creeping in here. I do think it's like if you're contractually obligated, I wish players would obligate the contract. I still do wish that. It's hopeless thinking, and there's no point to talk about it, but I do think he had a year left. Play the year. And maybe that's what the Bengals, and that's kind of what Reed was saying too. You don't want to play, that's fine. You're just not going to get any money. And if you're willing to, if you're not willing to get any money whatsoever, then that's what we're going to do here. So I really would. If they want to trade him, trade him. If they want to keep him and have him hold out, or at least showed him that, listen, we're okay with you holding out if you want to lose all your money. I'm okay either with whatever direction they want to go with. It's just frustrating that it all comes to this moment, and now there's even more pressure to get T. Higgins and Jamar Chase done.
That's the worst case scenario for me.
If they don't,
you either trade him or you extend him. There is no reason you should be sitting there in week 1 with him on this roster if he's threatening a holdout. That is too much distractions. You have to figure something out. If you can't get an extension done, which I think is sailed, then you got to work to trade him. And if it's for something you're not incredibly happy to get back, that's the position you put yourself in. I think that's better than having him hold out into camp.
Well, that's what's frustrating, because out of the 3 scenarios, I think the most likely is that the Bengals go into next season
correct
with the contract that they currently have. Trey Hendrickson doesn't get the deal that he wants, doesn't get the extension. The Bengals don't like any trade suitors that are currently there. Elliot, you said something interesting. You and I are in the same camp about. You said it was old man Elliott, play under your contract. I think we agreed last year when Trey Hendrickson threatened to retire. We made a big joke about that. We said, listen, you're under deal. You signed the deal. You got the wrong end of it. Sometimes there's team-friendly deals. Sometimes there's player-friendly deals. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Trey Hendrickson after a career year leading the league in sacks on a team that wasn't very good, and seeing what other edge rushers are getting, notably Max Crosby 2 days ago, there is absolutely nothing wrong for Trey Hendrickson trying to capitalize on that. Understanding what we know, that when you get over 30, this game gets a lot harder. What's the old cliche about the National Football League? It's the not-for-long league. You have that 30 hump. There's a reason the Bengals don't like signing guys. They've been burned there before. They don't want to be burned again on over age 30 players. So Trey Hendrickson is trying to capitalize on his historic season, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think we all know that the Cincinnati Bengals are slow to move. Once again, Elliott said they're a reactionary team. They are. I thought they were becoming more proactive. That isn't the case yet. I still hold out hope that there will be. That what will happen is what I think likely is the most likely scenario is what I started this segment with. He's going to go out. He's going to seek either an exuberant amount of money that someone will pay for, but the trade package isn't comfortable enough for the Cincinnati Bengals, or the package, the extension that the Bengals want to offer isn't suitable for Trey Hendrickson, so we're in this stalemate on the chessboard, and we just look at each other like, what's going to happen? And we get to week 1, and Trey Hendrickson says, I'm not playing. And we go out there, we trot out the Bengals, likely lose because that's what happens in week 1 in this city. And we go, Trey, would you play week 2? No, not going to play. And what's his deal? $15 million right now?
Yeah.
So his game check of just under $1 million doesn't come through, doesn't hit that direct deposit. And that happens for a second straight week. And eventually Trey's going to look at his team, because Trey is a competitor, and he's a great one of the best Cincinnati Bengals that I've seen in my lifetime. A true joy to have in this franchise. He's going to look at a team that needs some help on the defensive side. He's going to look at his family and go, all right, we got to start cashing these checks. And he's going to go out there and play. And hopefully, I truly hope this, though it might not be the best thing for the Bengals, probably the best course of action is that Trey Hendrickson plays. It is just a good player, 10 sacks, something along those lines. But I hope Trey Hendrickson comes out and plays and he balls out like he did this year. And next year, he's an unrestricted free agent, goes wherever he wants, and he gets every dollar that he's earned. It's not the best thing for the Bengals, but I hope that for Trey. That's how I think this is all going to lay out. As I've mentioned before, have been wrong. I've been wrong. I think last year I called Sheldon Rankins the answer, the Chris Jones of the Bengals. I said, you look at Super Bowl winning teams, they get a pass rushing presence in the center of the line. Obviously, that was an absolute disaster. So I've been wrong way more than I've been right, but I continue to look at things as the glass is half full, not half empty. I think Trey Hendrickson will be in stripes in 2025, and I hope I'm right. I'm right.
Do you think that the Crosby deal, once that was inked, it started this, or do you think this was always going to happen no matter what?
I think that they were in extension talks, and whether they were close or not, I do not know. I think they were sitting down and talking. And then when the Max Crosby deal got inked, he said, okay, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And they weren't close to that in the extension talks.
I think any report that they were far apart pre-Max Crosby extension is unfounded because there's no point there to have a model to go against. After the Crosby extension, there is zero chance the Bengals could match that. So I think as soon as that happened, they're turning their blinders to T and Jamar and moving on from Trey. I think the answer was always 2 out of 3 because you're going to have to focus on these guys. So you're spending your time, getting all 3 done. That's why you should have done at least one of them last offseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes there's no question that the Max Crosby deal is the catalyst of this whole thing. And like I said, that's okay. I think Jacob looked at me right after the Max Crosby push notification came across the wire, and he said, "This isn't good." No. And no, it wasn't. No, it was not.
Bengals extended a pass catcher though. Breaking news.
Ooh,
Tanner Hudson.
that's who you want.
So we're moving the needle. If we
They
remember week
extended
one, week 1 last year, Tanner Hudson keeps us out of the playoffs. We reward him with a 1-year extension. Whoopee!